has your relationship with Dave changed since all of that went down? Like, was it one of those relationships where it was like rocky when it all went down, and then through time, everybody's just kind of like, you know what, bygones be bygones. We're boys. I got nothing but love for him.
And I might be just oblivious to this, but I think me and Dave have always been cool. I honestly, I don't.
Even through the breakup.
I think so, yeah.
I'm making up that energy because I've just scanned some of the stuff.
No, I think he understood like what happened. There was a couple, because I was in a rev share, right? So like if a deal gets pulled out of my office for the New York office, like that's direct money pulled out of our office. And
so it wasn't like a team effort rev share. It was like if you pulled something and then they might have pulled something that was bigger, it would overshadow yours and then you would lose yours.
No, it was like whatever we generated, it was just a rev share, like classic internet, you know, like whatever our office generates, if we get, you know, people, sponsors that want to come on, if our podcast gets sponsors and we make money, it's a rev share where they're guaranteeing a certain amount of money. So there was some new people that were added, I think, in the business side of things that maybe didn't understand the deal or know the deal or have any clue who I am. I'm a punter in Indiana. These salespeople who are just added to the company are in New York City.
Comedian, retired, you pretty, you know.
No, I was a fucking, it makes no sense why I'm popular. It makes no sense at all. None. And I couldn't even imagine being a salesperson that just got hired to Barstool that is thinking to themselves, okay, I'm going to go sell. Am I going to sell like maybe the smartest, funniest person ever exists, PFT commenter, or am I going to go try to sell this punter in Indiana that I've never met before? So I think like stuff like that was starting to happen. And then we would have a deal and then for some reason there'd be a confusion. It would be gone all of a sudden. I'm like, whoa, like this is directly my money now, like that our company is like earning or whatever. So I think it was just things that were lost in translation. And whenever I explained that to Dave, I think he understood that. Then there was obviously the bubbly gang situation, which is another thing about like being 5 states over that is a little bit interesting because there was Lewis Roberts, who is one of the most interesting people of all time. And he was one of the first salesmen, I think, depending upon, I don't know, this is the story I've heard, so I think it's true. One of the first salesmen for Barstool Sports ever, like from Philadelphia, went up there to sell for Dave. And after our first week at Barstool, we did our podcast. It did well. And then the next week we had no ads. And I'd known the business and we're in a rev share. So I'm like, Dave, how do we have no ads for this thing? Like, I thought that's what this whole thing was.
Yeah.
So he assigned, and Dave was like, you're right. And by the way, Dave made a deal like within 2 minutes or whatever. That's what Dave is unbelievable at. And I think that's why the sphere of the Barstool University is a real thing. He assigned Lewis to us, though, to be our sales guy. He's like, this is my sales guy. Like, you can tell him to go fuck himself, too, if you want to. Like, if something comes through or they say they want you to say something or whatever, he's a good guy. So Lewis became one of the only people we talked to at the office, like literally one of the only humans we talked to on a day-to-day basis. So Lewis, he started a rosé company. And he asked me if I wanted to invest in it. And I was like, cool, I'll invest in it. Who's all investing in it? And he told me, I have, you know, and he said, Barstool was investing in it. Dave was investing in it. Some other people are investing in it. Do you want to be a part of it? I'm like, yeah, this is why I retired. Like, yeah, I would like to get into companies. I'd like to do this. Like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. Here we go. And then when we launched it, Dave was not invested in it, I guess. And Barstool was not invested in it at all. And I'm like, holy shit. And Dave was like, I have to fire you. And I'm like, you're firing? What do you have to fire me for? He was like, well, you're directly trying to undercut me or something. I'm like, Dave, I had no fucking idea. I literally asked if you were involved in this like 2-3 times. And he was, you know, he and I have always been able to, I think we've been able to chat. Like we've always been able to talk. I think we have, I don't know, I have the utmost respect for the business he's been able to build and the way he's gone about doing it. And his work ethic is fucking stupid too. So I think we've always had respect for each other. I think. I'm not 100% sure. You would have to ask him. But I think
he said on one of his shows that you guys were in talks for a second, potentially with the sports book before you went. Obviously, your huge deal. Did you guys ever talk about the Barstool sports book and getting you back in some capacity? Not back, but you guys partnering up.
Oh yeah, there was a show too. Like towards the end there, I thought me and Dave, if we had a show together, would do well. Like, I thought it would be pretty big. And at that point, Sirius, too, was trying to figure out what they were trying to do. And there was a Barstool radio deal. And Sirius only had one person they were paying, and Howard.
Right.
It was like, how long is Howard going to work? So, like, from a business side, it's like, you know, if me and Dave were to do a show, I think we could I think it would do well. And then one thing, I don't know, it didn't end up working, right? We're supposed to do business together. And then we do that Barstool tailgate show. and we had good chemistry to get, like, literally, I thought it was like a good show, and I enjoyed being around him. Like, I enjoyed him as a human.
Yeah.
He is fucking hilarious. Like, what a ridiculously hilarious human.
Yeah.
We were in Iowa, and he said that the pizza at the gas station was too bacony or something like that. Okay, so Trent's dad came in the next morning and like basically asked Trent why he's working for this man who thinks that something can be too bacony in the middle of Iowa or whatever. And like Dave's reaction to all those things was cool.
Was it Casey's?
Yeah.
That's good pizza now.
Well, it's too bacony.
Come on now,
I mean,
it's too bacony.
A little bit
he
too
said
bacony.
gas station Iowa. I'm starting to put it together. We talking about Casey's here, boys?
Yeah, but that was like a moment where like I have a lot of respect for him. And I mean, I didn't sell my company to FanDuel. I'm very thankful for our FanDuel partnership. They let us, they let us do a lot. Like, it's really cool. And we can pitch ideas and they can tell us yes or no. But ultimately, they don't own us. So, like, we are still trying to win. And
Absolutely.
they are still trying to win.
Yeah.
So it's a cool relationship. It's been a lot of fun. But it's a 3-4 year deal. FanDuel, who knows what the future looks like for anybody in this space. I think there's going to be acquisitions.
Wild West right now in the
There's so much money. I think there's going to be acquisitions, though, and let alone the platforms that are coming into play. I mean, Amazon's got the NFL rights. They have so much money. What are they going to want to do?
Right.
So who knows? Who knows what the future looks like?
Dog, I know. We had a fan question. This is appropriate from Elliot Hooper. Dave said he taught Pat everything he knows about gambling. Is this true? And Dave has been there. There's been a clip that's went around. I've seen it recently too, where he's like, I taught that man everything about gambling.
So that was that first, that Barstool tailgate show. We were traveling around and he was gambling. And I had never gambled before on games. I grew up around Italians, so I knew that it happened, but I didn't know who or why. We would pick those college games, and I would just pick the teams just because of the names or how I wanted to say the name. Like,
yeah,
I was like, how do I want to? I knew nothing. I have no idea why any of these teams will win or how they won't. But Dave was like winning there. He was winning. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, hey, I want to bet alongside you. Like, this will be my first experience, because watching him like either sweat it or experience it, I'm like, I would like to feel that about a game that I do not care about. I'd like to, so I was like, go ahead and I'll just ride alongside you. He's like, all right, cool, you got it. So he called his bookie to say, hey, I'd like to double my max, which I am now as a fully grown gambling adult, is a wildly aggressive move. I mean, that's not good at all to do that. And then he told me the amount of money it was. And I was like, holy shit, are you kidding me? And he was like,
how much we talking?
It was a lot. How
much we talking?
It was a lot of money. It was a good amount of money. And I was like, no way, I can't do that. He was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'll do like, I forget. I said like a half or whatever. So then he was doing 150% then because his max now, and I was picking up either like the last 50%. So he definitely upped the amount of money he was betting because I asked him to do so. And there was no way I could have fathomed he was gambling the amount of money that, I mean, there was no way. And it was like, I can't do that. I am so sorry. I felt so bad. I still feel bad about that. I mean, now he owns a book. So, I mean, he's definitely
he talked about losing like 500,000 on certain, during a bet before.
We were watching some Who Gives a Fuck game, I remember. And we were in this, it was maybe like a frat house. No, it was just a house, I think, in Virginia Tech. And they had these TVs set up. It was hilarious. They had these wires going in from everywhere and the Wi-Fi. It was a college house. So these games were coming and going. And these were two teams that I mean, I couldn't even tell you their names right now. I don't even think I knew their names when they were playing. He had a grotesque amount of money on these things, and he was getting actually upset. And I'm like, you don't even know that kid's fucking name. Like, who knows what that kid did last night? That kid's playing at Who Gives a Fuck University. I mean, there's reasons. That kid could have been drunk for the last 72 hours. That kid could have done any of these things. And to have all that money riding on it, I was just so fascinated by it. But yeah, he is, I mean, he has to be one of the most legendary, massive gamblers in the history of gambling. And it is partially my fault.
I hope you guys like this clip. If you want to continue to be for the boys, you need to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share with a friend, and check out our playlist. We have all the links right here on the screen. As always, biggest of hugs and tiniest of kisses. Also, go check out the full episodes, but always for the boys.